So today we're going to dive into something called measured dialogue. It sounds kind of formal, I know, but it's really just a simple shift in how we talk that has some, well, surprisingly huge power. We're going to find out why slowing down our conversations might just be the secret to actually communicating better.
But before we get into all that, let me ask you something. Think about the last few conversations you had. I mean, really think about them. Did you feel like you were actually heard, or did it feel more like a race to see who could get their point across first? You know, for a lot of us, our daily chats feel a little bit broken. And that's really where this whole thing starts.
And you know what? That feeling, it's not just in your head. Our whole culture is obsessed with speed, and that obsession has totally crept into the way we talk. But this fast talk, as we'll call it, it comes with a pretty steep price. So let's really break down the downside of always choosing speed over substance. This slide just lays it out perfectly, doesn't it? On the left, you've got fast talk. It's rushed, it's superficial, and it's totally reactive. You're so busy just thinking about what you're going to say next that you're not really listening at all. But then on the right, you see the alternative, measured talk. It's deliberate, it's deep, it's responsive. See the difference? You're not just reacting, you are genuinely engaging. One of these paths leads to constant misunderstanding, and the other one? Well, that one builds real connection. Okay, so if fast talk is the big problem here, what in the world is the solution? Well, it's called measured dialogue. And it's not just about talking slowly, I promise. It's a really powerful and intentional skill. So let's actually define what we're talking about. So here's the core idea, right? Measured dialogue is a choice. It's a conscious decision you make in a conversation. You decide to put three things way ahead of speed. First, clarity, so people actually get what you're saying. Second, comprehension, so you actually understand them. And finally, connection, which, let's be honest, is the real reason we talk to each other in the first place.
And the best part? Putting this into practice is surprisingly simple. It all comes down to these three pillars. Number one, listen without interrupting. And I mean really listen, not just, wait for your turn to talk. Number two, and this one is a total game changer, pause before you respond. Just take a beat. And third, when you finally do speak, do it with intention. Know what you want to say and choose your words carefully.
You know, that second pillar, the pause, it's so incredibly important that it deserves its own moment in the spotlight. It might just be the most powerful and, yeah, the most ignored tool we have in communication. So let's really dive into the power of the pause. We tend to think of silence in a conversation as this awkward, empty space that we have to fill up immediately. But this quote, it just flips that whole idea on its head. A pause isn't an absence. It's a presence. It's the presence of thought, of respect, of reflection. Psychologically, what's happening is you're signaling to the other person, hey, I'm taking your words seriously, and at the same time, you're giving your own brain a second to switch from a knee-jerk emotional reaction to a much more thoughtful one. Now, this whole thing isn't just about feeling calmer or being more polite. There's actually real data behind this approach. Let's take a look at the hard evidence that shows why, when it comes to conversation, slower is very often smarter. Let's start with a number. The average person speaking English talks at about 150 words per minute. You can think of that as our conversational cruising speed. It feels pretty natural, right? The problem is, we are constantly trying to break that speed limit.
And this chart right here shows you exactly what happens when we hit the gas. At a normal speed, comprehension is high. People get it. But as the speaking rate gets faster and faster, a listener's ability to actually process and remember what's being said just drops off a cliff. It really makes you wonder, what's the point of talking so fast if your message just gets lost in the noise?
So what's the big payoff for making this shift? Well, the benefits are huge, and they can impact pretty much every area of your life. You get a deeper understanding, which naturally leads to stronger relationships, at home and at work. Your words start to carry more weight, which increases your influence. And maybe best of all, conversations just become less stressful and way more meaningful. Okay, so we've talked about the problem, we've talked about the solution, and we've talked about the benefits. Now it's time to actually put this thing into practice. Let's talk about how you can use this in your very next conversation. If you remember only one single thing from all of this, I hope it's this. We often think that to be clear, we need to add more words, to explain more. But real clarity isn't about volume, it's all about precision. It's about saying less, but saying it better. And that brings us to our final thought. It's less of a statement, really, and more of a challenge for you to take with you. Now that you know that a simple pause can literally create understanding and that speaking with intention can build a real connection, what will you choose to say next? And, maybe even more importantly, how will you choose to say it?